do starts from the inside. And then from there, we kind of say, oh, okay, I see my boy Lou, he's doing X, Y, Z, but I'm not doing it because you're doing it. But I'm calling you, you're kind of saying, in the industry, this, so I'm using the information you're giving me to build my journey, not I'm trying to be you. And so what I realized was, there's some kids that can come and graduate in 4 years because they took K through 12 serious. I said, you should figure out what it is you do. He's a designer, right? You should be designing clothes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever, 5-6 hours a day. And then Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, because of your family, you should get a trip somewhere and go spend it with a friend. You should go you should go to Italy. You should go to Rome, son. You should go to South Africa, son. You should go to the Gold Coast in Australia, son. What are you doing? Like, you should work, but a part of work also is, where's your play? You should play. We worked hard so you could be balanced. Don't be like us. We grew up in a working class home. We grew up in Detroit. We grew up blue collar. You're not blue collar. So go enjoy your life. Be balanced. So I'm not just saying find your North Star in terms of what you've been called to do for others, but there should be
how does someone get to a place, and maybe it's true that things are holding them down.
They're absolutely true.
Right? Maybe it's true.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing you say, that living in a victim mindset or living in an outside-inside theory will not help you.
Assets were real estate. My greatest asset was a degree or a career. Nobody ever told me I was my greatest asset.
Yeah.
I'm my greatest asset.
Yes.
No, it doesn't matter. Look, people act as if you grow up in a house where your parents are rich, you're automatically, bro, we can look at people who grew up in wealth.
And are messed up.
Bro, they messed up. They on drugs too.
Yeah.
They make bad decisions too. Unfortunately, they take their lives as well. They check out. Bro, it does not. So people think a money environment, or you have both your parents in there and you get, so you think your story is, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you don't activate you, the environment doesn't matter anyway. Great environment, bad environment. If you're not activated, bro, I sit here sometimes and I could whip myself, my grandma, but get a reward for it. So for me, walking into, first of all, driving here in a car service, getting to LA, walking in this beautiful facility, seeing the other businesses that are here, I'm like, I'm proud of you, bro. You made it, You could have stopped at the homeless board and nobody would have tripped. Your daddy wasn't there. Your mom was 17 when she got pregnant. All the negative that happened to you, because we didn't exhausted all the stuff. You really need coaching.
After Jordan won his first championship, he didn't say, I think I've got it figured out on my own. I don't need a coach. He said, let me find Tim to train me. Let me find the mindset coach, the recovery coach, make sure we're getting to the next level.
They said, I read it, but it's research. I'm almost sure it's true, that LeBron, look at LeBron, what he's doing right now.
Oh, it's amazing, man.
Bro,
a 40, check him dunking on 20-year-olds.
Whoever had the arguments, you know what I'm saying? Because there were those of us who was alive.
Yeah.
We watched Jordan do his thing. But bro, what LeBron is doing right now, this is about a friendship that I'm tapping into and saying, man, it's good to see you alive. It's good to see that we made it. It is good. I still remember the red shoes with the red shorts.
Yeah, man.
With the hat, the red, and we're in there just kicking it. And now I'm like, yo, this is an enterprise now. This is on a whole nother level. Not saying what you did 10 years ago with me was nothing.
Sure.
And I'm saying this, and to still be alive and to still be welcome.
Yeah, man.
It's like,
it's beautiful, man.
This is what happens when you realize you're your greatest asset and you tap into you. Nothing wrong with real estate. Nothing wrong with investing, the S&P 500. But at the end of the day, you have to be the first thing that you invest in. And if you invest in you, I just believe there's nothing that can stop it. It's more control.
Opportunities.
It's more opportunity. They limit it, but the limitless when you take the keys. Yeah. And so I took the keys to my life and said, Mom, thanks. Dad, thanks for not being there for me. You gave me a dog. You gave me a passion. You gave me a resilience. You taught me how to make it when the very thing that's supposed to be there for you isn't there for you. And I tell people what I want. Some kid asked me the other day, he's like, and then am I willing to do what it takes to get it? That's it.
Because it's a lot.
It's a lot. But here's the thing. I believe if you think about it, it is only because somewhere inside of you, you have what it takes. Now, capacity is there. Willingness is something totally different.
Yes.
That's different. But I want every human to know, you wouldn't be watching you wouldn't be watching or listening to the School of Greatness if you didn't believe you were great. I'm for real. You wouldn't be spending time with this man, but you recognize I overcame it. And that's why you like, I want to rock with this dude. Because this one some kind of way, Eric ain't the one that's making us feel like, oh, it's okay that you went through this, and it's okay that this, and it's okay if you don't want to grow, and it's okay if you don't want. No, what you hear from me is a coach that's saying, Jordan, you got 6 rings in you, but you got to stop playing this way and you got to start playing this way. Kobe, you got great, but you gotta do it this way. Serena, you got it. Venus, you got it. That Richard Williams is saying, he's not out there just, y'all on TikTok, y'all blew TikTok up. Mm-hmm. And I knew it because adults are on LinkedIn and LinkedIn
Instagram.
LinkedIn made no money. TikTok, billionaire. Instagram, why? Because these young people are there. I said, when you show up to anything, it blows up. Here's my problem. You're in the school and you're failing. Why? Because you're waiting for the teacher to teach you. The teacher didn't teach you TikTok. The teacher didn't teach you how to play
YouTube Call of Duty.
They didn't teach you how to do that. You did it on your own. Why? Because you wanted to do it. And anything you activate, anything you do for you, it's going to blow out. But you're waiting for some teacher to teach you when you can pick up a book. That's the je ne sais quoi, that my daddy wasn't there. That's the it factor. If my father had been there, I might not be able to go in here and relate on my videos and go viral. People are like, okay, maybe if I just had Eric's voice, or if I just scream and I just look passionate. Bro, that's not what it is. It's when I speak, you hear it because I've been through what you've been through.
Wow.
And so you recognize that voice, you recognize the pain, you recognize the struggle. And we don't realize we are a community. Right? And look, I'm not trying to be deep. People could, you believe this, you don't believe in this. But what I was taught, in school, especially Catholic school, it seemed like Adam was by himself first. It doesn't seem like it was like somebody else. It's like Adam was first, and then whatever happened after that. So the first man was by himself. And I think that's important for those of us who study that. Why? Because all of us think we have to have somebody to be somebody. And this guy started his journey on his own before he connected with somebody. He knew his purpose. He walked in his confidence. And a lot of us are going, I hear people say all the time, well, I'm not doing good life. Why not? I don't have nobody.
If life is a long journey of self-acceptance, I think the earlier you can accept your own peculiarities as just part of you, rather than trying to justify them or mold to the archetype that you think is acceptable within your social circle. At least for me, like there's this period of discomfort when you change anything because everyone around you wants you to fit within the label that they are comfortable.
If this video pushes you to become 1% better today, subscribe because I upload powerful motivational speeches every week.
But
they also have the anchor of what you were before.
Yeah, exactly. And so they try and people don't like that. And so they're like, no, I like you in this box. So just say, I know you're having a little thing right now. Don't worry. And they just want to shove you back into it. And there's a lot of uncomfortable conversations that you have to have where it becomes really socially awkward. And so like I said one the other day about like going home for the holidays, and the reason I don't like doing it is because often I have to confront a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time, and they'll speak to me in a way that I don't like. And before that, I would roll it off like whatever, no big deal. But I don't accept that. When you're growing in a business, it's very painful. When you're stagnating in a business and you're plateaued and you don't know what to do, it's very painful. When you're declining and you also don't know what to do, it's very painful. And so that means that all conditions of reality are painful. And so if pain is a prerequisite for reality, then it means it's just a signal that we are alive. And so in thinking about that, rather than pain as a problem, it is a signal that I'm breathing, and then becomes irrelevant. There was a guy, friend of a friend, successful entrepreneur, and he got really bad cancer, like super bad, really, really fast, right? And I think he lost his like trachea and some other stuff, and like they thought he was going to die. He ended up making it. And he was telling my friend, he was like, man, so grateful. And it was like,
about, you'd think it was like the whole I see life a different way now. It wasn't that. It was while he was going through it. And his reasoning was, how cool is it that I get to live this part of the human experience? He's like, so many people don't get to live this. Like, I get to know what it's like to have cancer. Like, so many people live their whole lives and then die not knowing what cancer was like. I get to know that. And I just thought about that as like a very interesting frame. It's like, whether it's bankruptcy, going to jail, like even the depths of human suffering, and some people who are still going through that trauma, I'm not saying that, like, I'm not justifying it. It's just a frame on like, being human is the rainy and the sunny days. Like, you can't skip weather. And so I think like embracing the totality of the experience can give you gratitude for what feels locally like a low point. But most of the defining moments in our life, broken leg, then he doesn't have to go to war, right? When you expand the time horizon, those are the things that create us.
If you want patience, then you're not going to get things quickly. If you want to have endurance, it's like you have to be able to tolerate suffering, right? If you want to be wise, it's like you're going to have to get burned. And you're gonna have to learn the value of judgment. And sometimes that means you're gonna get betrayed in order to learn that pattern. And so it's like we lament the price tag for the things that we want. And I think that, at least for me, my ultimate, long-term goal is just to become the person that the best version of me, right? And I think that in order for that to happen, I will have to go through pain. This is all to say that no matter where you're at in your journey, you've just gotta believe with all your fucking heart that you're going to make it, because no one else is gonna believe for you. Because you can never expect someone to invest in you more than you invest in yourself. And the crazy thing is, some people say they'd kill for a shot or they die for a chance, when in reality, they won't even wake up 60 minutes earlier for it. The bigger your goals, the more pain you're going to endure, whether you want to or not. It's the price. And if you can endure 4 times more pain than someone else, I don't actually think that it feels 4 times more painful. I think it feels the same level of pain, but you have this padding that makes it feel worth it. Give a man a purpose and the ability to achieve it, and he will crawl over broken glass with a smile. That broken glass, like, how can you have a smile during the pain? It's because of what the pain itself represents. Girlfriend breaks up with you. Okay, then you go into work and you sulk because you're distracted, and then you don't do the same level of effort and you're not enthusiastic. And then all of a sudden your work suffers and you get put on a PIP or you get fired. And then now you're fired and you don't have a girlfriend, and then you start gaining weight and you stop going to the gym. And all of a sudden you're like, man, bad things happen in threes. It's like, no, bad things happen all the time, and they only become interrelated if you let it affect your behavior. And so I think the equal opposite of that is thinking, okay, this bad thing occurred. What can I do to decrease the likelihood something else bad occurs in the meantime? And then boiling everything down to activities or the actions that I have to take. And I think about that actually a lot, which is how, like, if you think about it from the power perspective of, okay, something bad happens, how much would it affect my behavior? Well, the person who's indestructible would have something terrible happen and then nothing would change. And I love that.
Or they'd get better.
Exactly, yeah. Winners write history. But here's the cool part, is that if you win and when you win, you get to have a revisionist history of your own life. Like, you can basically rewrite your own history so that you can make it whatever you want. There's this line that I heard David Goggins say, I'm David Goggins, bit. I remember him saying it, and I thought to myself, like, you want to be able to say that in the mirror to yourself and not laugh at yourself. Mm-hmm. And the only way that I can do that is know that when no one's watching, I work harder than when they're watching. And thinking about it like that has given me this persistent and ever-present scorecard or third party that's like, no one's watching, which means now you have to work, because otherwise you're full of shit.
You have to learn the skills to become successful. And oftentimes learning those skills is painful because you don't know the skills when you're trying to learn them, and mistakes hurt. And so I think there's just a huge amount of skills that you have to learn in order to be successful. And if we define success as material success for business, at least, then it's just, there's so many things you have to learn. It's very hard to learn them scar-free.
Nothing great was ever achieved by people who tried to be great at all things. And so I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna, I might not have a great relationship for a long period of time. I mean, there was, like, a lot of people don't know this, but in the early days of our relationship, even when we were married, I told Leia, so the first 3 years, I said the business comes before our marriage. So a lot of people don't know that. And I was like, well, to me, it made sense. It was like, most people break up over money. The business makes money, so the business feeds us, and then we will be okay. That was kind of my thinking around it. And we eventually flipped that and said, like, if we're good, the business will be fine. But it took 3 years to get there. But all that to say, like, I think having periods of imbalance, and maybe, to be fair, if I hadn't had that priority at that time, maybe Gym Launch wouldn't have been what it became. And so I can't look back and say, like, I should have done it different, because it's really easy to say that now. But, like, I might not be here to say that if I had been that way. I think it's just giving yourself permission to suck. It's giving yourself permission to be unhappy. It's giving yourself permission to not achieve while you do for a long period of time. It's giving yourself permission to lose friends. It's giving yourself permission to do things that's different than people in your social circle or your age group are doing. It's giving you permission, giving yourself permission to be an exception so that you can become exceptional. And a lot of that, the whole positive poly mantra of, like, I saw a post a girl made, and she was like, "You are worthy." And that's what made that tweet. All my tweets are just responses to shit I see. And so this girl was like, I say this to myself in the morning, like, "You are worthy, you are amazing, you are a goddess." And I was like, "You're not a goddess, because you don't control me. And you don't have the things that you want. You keep thinking that you saying that you're worthy is going to somehow make it true. But, like, the way that you know you're worthy is that you have it. That's it. Like, that is the litmus test. Are you worthy of $1 billion? Well, are you a billionaire? No, then you're not worthy. And so, just like, I think we have these things, it's just like, you're unbalanced. It's like, you're not worthy. There's these things that we're programmed to say, oh, that's bad. You have to tell everyone they're worthy. Everyone's beautiful. No, if everyone are beautiful, then no one's beautiful. And yet again, we're back at square one. And so it's I guess, drinking the tonic. It's going through the shit, which is honestly the boring stuff that no one wants to do for an extended period of time. And accepting that you suck. And that it is okay, because the first step is accepting that you suck so that you can do the second step, which is doing something about it. I think that most of us can look back on our lives to 10 years ago and think about the problems that we were dealing with then, and think about how much of a pittance and how small those problems were compared to the problems that we deal with today. At least that's how I probably feel. Maybe you feel the same way. And so I then think, okay, well, if I feel that way about the problems that I had 10 years ago, then 10 years from now, Alex will look back at the problems that I'm dealing with today and feel the same way. And so if he feels that way then about the problems that I have now, then the only difference is the perspective that he has that I don't have. And so I might just be a sensitive little pansy, and maybe these aren't problems at all. Maybe these are just facts of life, and I need to habituate to them. So I spent 5 years building a chain of gyms. So I had 6 locations. And after that, I sold 5 of them. I shut one down. And then I transitioned to doing turnarounds. In the transition between shutting my gyms down, I got a big payday because I sold my 5 gyms. Big for me, relative. I took all that money and I put it into the next thing. The partner that I had in that next thing ended up taking the money and disappearing, filing bankruptcy, and sending it to his girlfriend in Sweden. I couldn't make this up. So there was no way I could get the money back, and he had filed bankruptcy. So there's no course of action for a lawsuit. And so a lot of people would probably go through that mental situation and think, and I went through this, was thinking, I just wasted the last 5 years. Like, I literally started a chain, built, like, put everything into the second location, put everything in the third location, the fourth location, the fifth, it kept going, right? I kept doubling down, and then I get my big payday, and I put it all on black, and then it disappears with one spin of the roulette. And so here I am, and I'm like, I have nothing to show for the last 5 years of work. But then in the next 12 months, I made more money than I'd ever made in my entire life up to that point. The 5 years I made more profit the next 12 months than I made in the last 5 years, times like 5. And it was because, and this is I was only able to realize this in retrospect, which is why I'm sharing it, which is that the thing that was the outcome of those 5 years was me and the skills and the experiences that I possessed through going through it. And so whatever the next mountain that you're trying to climb is, of course it's going to be higher, but it's going to require you to go through the smaller mountains to get to that point. So, because the more able you are, the more able you realize you can become. And you will get way bigger outcomes from the things that you had, like the path that led you here, than you think you can. That's why since that moment where I lost everything, and then I was able to make more in the next 12 months, I realized that no work is wasted because I am the output of the work, not the outcome. And that was one of the biggest frame shifts for me in never thinking that work is wasted, because the more I work, the bigger my work ethic, the more my work capacity increases.
If you lack the discipline to work hard, save your money, you will end up a slave to finances. If you lack the discipline to manage your time correctly, you will end up with no free time. If you have self-discipline, if you have the discipline to save your money and work hard and invest your money properly, if you have the discipline to manage your time correctly and not waste a bunch of time, if you have the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up with freedom. And I know it's a counterintuitive, it's contrarian, but I've seen this over and over and over again. If you want freedom in your life, you have to have discipline.
Discipline equals freedom. That's it. I mean, if you have the discipline to get up and get the things done, well, I often tell a similar story. This is the same thing that you just said, which is, you know, the weekend where you really only had 2 things to do for the weekend, whatever it was. You had to write this thing and you had to answer this other thing. And on Friday, you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And on Saturday, like, I'll do it. And it's basically hanging over your head the whole weekend. Whereas if you just done Friday afternoon, the whole weekend would have been a lot better. So just do the thing.
Go do some push-ups. Go spend $12 at the hardware store and hang up a pull-up bar in your room and start doing pull-ups. And if you can't do one pull-up, hang on that bar. And you're going to start to get a little bit stronger. You're going to start to get a little bit healthier. You're going to start to get more focused. You're going to start to become more resilient. And you're going to start to be able to do a pull-up. And you're going to start to eat healthy all the time. And you're going to start to understand the world better. And you're going to start to progress in every aspect of your life. And you'll see that if you have that kind of discipline right now, you're going to end up with freedom. And if you don't have that kind of discipline, and you keep eating those Doritos, and you don't work hard, and you don't exercise, and you don't apply yourself, you're going to end up shackled. You're going to end up shackled by a boss that you don't like, doing a job that you don't like to do, with sicknesses and diseases that you don't want, relying on people that you can't even count on, alone. And you don't have to. But if you have discipline, you will attain freedom.
Work, a lot of work. You know, when you're watching TV, or you're, you know, looking at Instagram, or you're, you know, going out for dinner on a date and you go to a movie, I'm not doing that. I'm reading a book, I'm getting ready for a podcast, I'm writing something, I'm preparing for something, I'm talking to a client, I'm designing something, I'm thinking about a new supplement. Like, it's just kind of all the time. And so a guy asked me the other day, are you working more now than you were when you were in the SEAL teams? And the answer is 100%. Yes, I'm working harder now. You know, I should say I'm working more, because I'm working more time. No weekends, no evenings, really.
I wake up early and I work out every day. That's kind of those are the minimum requirements in my life. Train jiu-jitsu. I don't get to train jiu-jitsu every single day, but if I can train jiu-jitsu, I'm going to train jiu-jitsu. I'm going to work out every day. If I can surf, I'm going to surf, you know. I obviously have to work every day. I work every day doing something. I've got a bunch of different companies. I got to write books, podcasts. So I work every day.
A lot of people out there that are constantly trying to improve themselves by looking for the one change, right? The one change in their life that's gonna make their dreams come true. It isn't one thing, and it isn't 10 things, and it isn't 100 things. It is a quick path, and there are no shortcuts. Getting better isn't a hack or a trick or a one change that you need to make. Getting better is a campaign. It's a campaign. It's a daily, a weekly, it's an hourly fight. An incessant fight that doesn't stop against weakness and against temptation and against laziness. It's a campaign of discipline. It's a campaign of hard work and dedication. It's waking up early and going to bed late and grinding out every second in between. Every single day. You want to get better? You want to self-improve? Stop looking for a shortcut. Find your discipline.
Don't let those emotions run your life. There is because people say, suppressing your emotions is bad. Okay, so I'm just going to let all these emotions out and they're going to run my life now. No. At a certain point, you say, okay, my emotions are now leading me down the wrong path. I'm in control. I'm not going to allow my emotions to make my decisions. They're in the calculus. I'm not saying take your emotions out of the calculus, but they have to be one component of your calculus, not the whole equation. The equation has to include emotions, yes. Logic, yes. Future, yes. Goals, yes. Family, yes. Work, yes. Finances, yes. All those things have to be in the calculus. Emotions has to be a part of that calculus. You can't pull them out of there or they'll bite you. But you can't make them the overwhelming denominator of everything that you do, or it's going to be problematic. Extreme ownership is this went wrong, this failed, didn't accomplish this, and it's not the fault of my boss, it's not the fault of my girlfriend, it's not the fault of my parents, it's not the fault of the weather, it's my fault. And I'm going to take ownership of it and I'm going to fix it. That's what extreme ownership is. And this is a very difficult thing to do because it hurts. Because when you look around at your life and you look around at your job and your financial situation and your relationship and your physical health, and when you look at all those things and all the problems that you may have with those things, and you say the reason I have all those problems is because of me, that can hurt. That can sting. And a lot of times our ego rejects that and makes excuses and lies. And then we don't have to change anything. And then nothing changes.
Reframing the way you're looking at things and seeing opportunities instead of seeing punishments, and instead of seeing downturns in your life, seeing opportunities, it's just going to have such a much better impact on the way where you get to. Discipline is the root of all good qualities, but you have to absolutely apply it to things outside of just waking up early. It's everything. It's working out every day, making yourself stronger and faster and more flexible and healthier. Discipline is eating the right foods to fuel your system. It's about disciplining your emotions so you can make good decisions. It's about having the discipline to control your ego so your ego doesn't get out of hand and control you. It's about treating people the way you would want to be treated. And doing the tasks that you don't necessarily want to do, but that you know will help you or help your team. It's about facing your fears takes discipline to face your fears so you can conquer them. And that's